Okay, folks, this is something that takes me back to when I was in my early 20s, and it can be a subjective thing, what it was interpreted as. I did a work of art um, on some really high end colour photocopiers, and I made this really funny artwork, and I had a certain meaning for it, but someone else thought it meant ecstasy, as in drugs. And yeah, but that was not my intent, but that was their subjective. I think quite a few people were saying that, because yeah, the 90s were a real time of parties, and ecstasy was one of the big drugs that people were taking. I think that might be a bit dark light, but basically, yeah, it was a big thing back then, and I didn't mean it that way, but it was interpreted by at least a few people or so that's what it was. Let's see what this is. It's very small. It's the letter E. So ecstasy begins with E, and so does the word edit. So I did my artwork was the word edit written on 4 separate sheets of paper in creative artwork. And the word E was misinterpreted as ecstasy, but I meant it to mean edit, because the amount of editing I did on my artwork was incredible, if I say so myself. Sorry for blowing my trumpet, folks. I shouldn't blow my trumpet, but I thought it was really good or great, and people just kept saying, oh, it's E for ecstasy or eckies or something like that. But it was the first letter in the word edit, and they just kept saying eckies or ecstasy or E, E for ecstasy. And this finish is like a 90s kind of finish, this holographic, but that looks shit house. The holographic material isn't showing up as much as I was expecting it and hoping it to. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one, folks. It's not going to come up as ecstasy-like as you'd want it to. I'm going to go to map mode and see if that works. I didn't put the lid down or the dock feeder down because I didn't want to squash it flat, but it still looks too flat. Yeah, the map mode has improved it a little bit. It still looks a bit boring, a bit on the la-di-da side of things. Maybe I could do something different. Maybe it's going to be different, boring as it is. So I'm going to try and maybe hold it up a little bit, maybe tilt it a little bit, just like so. And I'm going to just press the start button. Yeah, that looks better actually. You can see some of that flashiness now. That looks a lot better. I think we can work with that. I don't know whether we're going to go with a movement or a still piece. I do wonder maybe if I try to move it, see if I can make it look even better. See if we can get that to sparkle. Don't know how that's going to look, folks. Yeah, that looks interesting and looks very, very minimalist. Still doesn't look as shiny as I'd like it to. I think this looks shinier. So I'm going to use this one. Wonder what we're going to turn it into. Maybe a minimalist piece it'll become. I'm not a fan, generally speaking, of minimalism, but I do appreciate that it sometimes happens in my work. I don't know how this is going to look. But that's our E for ecstasy or edit, whatever you want to call it, whatever you see it as. Art is a very subjective thing. So if one person sees ecstasy and another person sees edit, well, that's basically their prerogative or their business. I mean, art is an extremely subjective thing. What may be considered art to one person or a group of people may not go down too well with others. It's just like that, folks. It used to drive me nuts the way they used to go, ecstasy, ecstasy. Yeah, that's too big and I have to maybe enlarge it, but the colours are looking good. I do think maybe, I'm trying to think whether that's where the top of that is. I've forgotten, I don't know, shit. So maybe we can move it across and maybe move it down. I don't know why I'm moving it down. My intuition's telling me to do so. I don't know how it's going to work. At least the colours are looking nicer now. Yeah, I moved it the wrong way, folks. I thought I was going with my intuition, but I wasn't. Wrong way, so, folks. I'm going to move up and across. Going to make a big movement. I'm not going to nibble. Nibbling drives me mad. Yeah, that looks better. That looks a bit too far. We pushed it too far across now. Even though, I do wonder, maybe we can enlarge it bigger. E is for enlarge, incidentally, as well. That's another word we can use. Another use of the word E, letter E, is enlarge. So I'm going to move it back further. I think we've moved it too far that way. Going to move it further up. I don't know how this is going to work. I really hate it when I feel like I'm doing this blindly. I have memory problems, which sometimes impacts on some of the work I do, just a tad. It can be really difficult. Now I've got that in a nice position. All I have to do is maybe how should I do it? Lessen the enlargement, or maybe enlarge it on the horizontal. This is where the lift was, so I should know that that's the part that's going to move down. So the horizontal is going to be a lot larger. Maybe bigger than 100. Make it 200 and something. 240. This is going to be fairly prolongated demo. Already we're over 10 minutes and counting, or 10 minutes 15 seconds and counting. That looks better. Wondering if we're going to move it up a bit or we're going to leave it like that, because I don't like the way that's too overlapped. But it might look all right like that. Maybe some of the enlargement here could go off, go down a bit. So we're just going to take some of that enlargement out, make it 230. This is going to be a very minimalist piece. I'm not a big fan of minimalism, but I'm not like opposed to it, except for certain types of minimalism, like when you've got a blank canvas painted, a canvas painted white, and it's called art, and there's some message behind it, some deep and meaningful-ish kind of message that I don't actually grasp. So wondering if we're going to make that the centre of the job, but this is going to be, I do think, fairly minimalist, to be honest, folks. I'm not a big fan of minimalism. Some of it looks all right, but a lot of it looks a bit la-di-da in my books. Okay, that's our second piece of our coming up minimalist piece, up and coming minimalist piece. So maybe someone who's high on ecstasy might appreciate it. But yeah, the 90s were a fascinating time, folks. It was a time that I really wish I could have it over again, folks, because I did some stupid things in my life, which resulted in me not marrying and not having the kind of life that I could have had beyond my wildest dreams if I had made the right connections, like with Luigi. But I now have to try and get this stuff on social media to find him, and I can't find him, so I'm really angry at myself that I didn't use the 90s as a time of wonderment. It was stressful to me. For some reason I didn't feel the love and I didn't feel the vibe. I wanted to be a part of it, but I thought I wasn't supposed to be. You know, I really hated myself. So I hated myself, and that's why I never got to enjoy the 90s. Anyway, that looks really quite interesting. I think now we can call this minimalist piece finished.